Good morning, Goodwin Frazier. Happy Monday to you. I am here at my house, and naturally, since this is the kicking off day of our Goodwin Frazier Spirit Week, I am wearing pajamas so that I am just as much a part of it as you are. And hopefully, if you are able to, you could take the pictures of you and your family being in the same Goodwin Frazier spirit at your house, put it on Facebook, or just put it out there to know that you're celebrating along with us. What we are going to do to kick off this week is we are going to talk about one thing that we talk about in class a lot, and that is super, super important, and that is flexibility. So I know that some of you are going to be way more flexible than me, and that's okay. It's super, super important though. So that's why we're going to talk about it here. So flexibility. If you are super flexible, it helps you in so many ways. You could be like super, super strong, but if you're not flexible, it's hard to use that strength that you have. If you want to be like super fast, people that can run super fast, they want to be able to use all of their muscle. And if you're not very flexible, then you only use part of it. So if you ever watch like runners in the Olympics or something, if you ever watch like strongman competitions where they're lifting thousands of pounds, all of them stretch and practice flexibility in their daily lives. And it's something that's not just important now for you as a kid, it is important for your entire life, because I'm sure that you know somebody who might be older, or they might just have like a stiff leg, or they might not be able to like bend down and get something. All of that might be because they don't practice good flexibility as they get older. So flexibility, super, super important for you at all times. And it's awesome because you don't need anything at all to do it. You just have to know how to do it. So in this video, hopefully I'm just going to be able to show you like one stretch per muscle that you might need to work out. So some of like the big muscles that we use a lot. So like, for example, our bicep is right here. So your bicep muscle is what pulls your arm up whenever you go to lift something. So this front side of your body, this muscle right here, your bicep. So anytime we ever do a stretch, how you would stretch something out is that if you're pulling your arm up and this is how you lift something, this is how your muscle's being used. So to stretch something, we go the opposite direction. So having your arm completely straight, like maybe, so for me, I'm going to put it like against my foot and then just push not very hard, but just a little bit to try to like straighten your arm as much as possible. So I'm not even using my foot now. I'm just pushing my arm down as much as I can. And that helps stretch that bicep muscle. And I feel it specifically like right there. So that would be an easy bicep stretch to do. Then on the opposite side of your arm is your tricep. So if your bicep is lifting up, your tricep is pushing down. So your tricep muscle is on the back part of your arm. So to stretch your tricep muscle, it would be the opposite. So it would be up here trying to like push against your arm and your elbow, so that whenever this is getting stretched out, you really start to feel it, and it helps your arm become more flexible. And that way, whenever you were pushing something in general, you have more, it's called range of motion, which just means you're able to use more of your muscle whenever you go to use something. So there is your bicep, there is your tricep. So let's go ahead and finish our arms and then use our shoulders. So a shoulder stretch, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. Most of you already know it, but some of the typical ones is you put your arm across your body. So if I wanted to stretch this shoulder, I put it across my body, and then I squeeze this arm with this arm so that it's stretching right there. That way it's super close to my body and I can feel it in my shoulder right there, and it's a great stretch. So this arm, I'm not pushing super hard. Please make sure you're not like throwing your arm towards you or anything. You're just gently leaning into it until you feel it start to stretch in your shoulder. So you can go that way, and then I'll do the same thing with the other arm, pulling it towards me so that I feel the stretch right here. So most of the time, whenever you go to stretch, you can count to 10, you can count to 15, just depending on how flexible you are and what you're trying to do. What a great idea would be is anytime that you're planning on exercising, do very quick stretches of what you think you're going to use. So if I'm going to use something that's a lot of my arms, I can do those 3 stretches that we just did. Let's see, another upper body thing would be your chest. So especially if you're about to go do push-ups or something, you can stretch out your chest muscles. Your chest and your shoulders, they kind of can get stretched together at the same time. So some people you hold your arms here and then you just try to go as far back as you can. So for me, I'm trying to touch the wall with both of my arms. I feel it in my shoulders, so I'm going to go up a little bit higher, and then now I start to feel it more in my chest. So you just try to push your arms back as far as possible, and then you feel it in your chest, and then you're good. Some people put both arms behind, and then you like squeeze against each other so that you can feel it, as long as you are expanding your chest, because going this way and pushing is how you use your chest, so you have to go the opposite way to stretch it. Then let's go down to our core muscles. So if you're going to stretch out your core, obviously going backwards, because if you were sitting up to use your core muscles, you would want to go the opposite way. But it's kind of weird to make like a U-bend, so it sometimes can be better for people, especially me, if you are trying to just go side to side. So for me, I like to twist just a little bit here. Some people like pop their backs this way. Not me. I just like to go side to side just real quick, because then it feels like my core is really getting a chance to expand, so that if I was going to go use it, then it feels a lot better. It's not as tight, because with flexibility, if you don't stretch and then you try to go do something like really quick, then it feels tight and it could kind of hurt. You definitely don't want that. So you want to make sure that whenever you stretch ahead of time, that whenever you do it properly, so that whenever you go to do the actual activity, it doesn't feel as tight. It feels a lot better. So that would be kind of like our upper body stuff. So then our legs. So right here, the front part of your leg is called your quadricep. So a lot of people shorten it and just call it a quad muscle. So your quadricep right here, this muscle is used whenever you go to move your leg forward. So if you're going to go move your leg forward or just straighten it out. So you definitely use this muscle whenever you do squats, because your leg goes from here to straight. So this quadricep muscle is very, very important. Obviously, hopefully the gears are turning in your head. You can start thinking, okay, so if that way is using it, I need to go back the other way to stretch it. So a quadricep stretch would be having it back here and then trying to very slowly pull your leg up against your body. So I'm trying to get like the heel of my foot to touch my, like the back of my leg right here. So if I'm trying to pull it, again, nice and slow, do not try to pull as hard as you can, then I can feel it kind of right here towards my knee. So that is a great quadricep stretch to have. Some people put their foot on the ground and then just lean back and use gravity. You can do that too. It's whichever one is more comfortable for you. So if I'm just leaning back, then I feel it here, and I want to, like for me, it's more comfortable if I put my foot just a little bit further in, then I can lean back and I can feel it right there in my muscle. So then if you want to stretch out like your hips, we've done this in class plenty of times. Very common one is a butterfly. Let me back up a little bit so you can see my feet. You put the bottoms of your feet together, and then you put it as close as you can, and then you either lean forward. If you're flexible enough, then you would just lean forward as far as you can. If you're not super flexible, and maybe you're not close to leaning forward yet, then you would push down. So I would use my elbows and I would grab my ankles and I would push down with those arms so that my legs are going as flat as possible. So I can do both at the same time, try to lean down as I'm pushing them flat, and then that way I feel it directly in my hips. So that gets stretched out. So butterfly stretch, pretty much like the basic number one way that people stretch out their hips. It's a really, really good stretch to use. Then there's something called your hamstring. I know, I picture like ham at the supermarket on a string, but it's called your hamstring. The fancy word for it is bicep femoris. There you go, vocab word of the day. So your quadricep is up here, your hamstring is on the back of your leg. So the hamstring, you use that whenever you are pulling your leg closer to you. So if I'm running or something, I use a lot of my hamstring because that's what pulls on the ground every time that I take a step to try to go faster. So stretching out your hamstrings would be the opposite. If it's a pull, then you want it to go straight. So the easiest way is that if I put my feet directly in your face, then I just try to lean out and touch my toes as best as I can. The important part about this is that whenever you do it, a lot of people want to be able to touch their toes. Don't worry if you're not able to touch your toes. Most important thing is to keep your legs completely flat. Don't let them bend up so that you can touch your toes, because then you're not really stretching it as much. You should have the back of your knee on the floor, as flat as possible. Then you lean forward. And then even if you're out here and you can't quite get to your toes, it's okay, because as long as you're feeling it in the back part of your legs. If you keep practicing, then eventually you'll be able to get there to your toes, but it just takes a lot of practice at flexibility. Flexibility is not like a one-time thing where you can just sit down, practice it, and then all of a sudden you're magically flexible. It's a slow process. So this is something you can do like every day when you get up in the morning. It's something that can really, really help with whatever you're trying to do. So that is like the basic, most important muscles to stretch out, to try to be flexible with and everything. Didn't take me that long. It took me a little longer because I'm explaining it and you're learning and listening. But that's something that I did here with zero equipment, did it in my house. And that is something that you can try to get like your parents, your grandparents, your brother, your sister, whoever. You can try to get them to do it with you. Try to see who's the most flexible in your family. And if you already know, try to see who's the second most flexible in your family. There's a lot of ways that you can try to do this. Try to find another stretch that I didn't do and try to do it yourself. So flexibility, super, super important. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you did all of these stretches along with me. We're on week 2 of doing stuff with Coach Kimbrough videos. Hopefully you'll continue to watch and everything. And hopefully I'll continue to make them. But my goal is to not make many, because I want us to go back to school. I want us to go back to learning, being at Goodwin Fraser, all of those things. So as always in these videos, stay safe, stay healthy, row the boat, and have a marvelous Pajama Monday.